And hello, guys. Welcome back to the special episode of Google Ads Unleashed. Very, very unusual episode because we're going to venture out a little bit out of the worlds of SEA and we're going to dive into the world of SEO. And I've got a very good friend on the podcast today. It's Tom. Tom is the managing director of a local SEO agency here in Cardiff. And has managed a range of clients throughout the lead gen area, through e-commerce, some of them spending many pounds on SEO and getting lots of website visitors through it as well. And I thought I'd get him on the podcast because I think very often SEO is very much like a yin and yang to SEA. And I suppose I'll just leave the word to you. Tom, welcome.
Cheers, guys. Thanks, Jamie, for getting on the show. I'm Tom. A little bit of background. I'm not going to bore you about myself, mostly of this podcast, but I'm from a place in Caerphilly in South Wales. The reason being that we set up Ascend is two kind of factors, really, is an interest of myself of online retail. Many years ago, I started off in the retail industry. I progressed myself into the car industry then, which was interesting to say the least. And I think it was probably because I was the youngest one in the sales team. I kind of took on the online sales of cars, which was obviously quite a big thing only about 7-8 years ago. So they all kind of knitted together. And when I set up Ascend, I thought we need to really be in a position that we want to be in one area, and e-commerce. I think with e-commerce, it's great because we get to work with companies for a number of months and years as well. And I think that the main benefit of that is that we get to grow with that business and get obviously a better relationship with them and understand their pain points and how we can progress. So that's the reason we in Ascend is born, and we've obviously got a fantastic client bank now, and we're looking to really grow into the new year, into more of the world of e-commerce.
That's amazing. So, to me, it's all it is naturally. I've worked alongside many SEO specialists in many years, right, in various agencies as well. I got to be honest. To me, it's a lot of still smoke and mirrors, and I think it's the same to many people today. So, I think what we're gonna be doing today, and to many listeners, this will be maybe their first touch point as well with this sort of another channel, right? So, I think what's going to be interesting is for you to maybe just provide us with a brief overview first of what exactly SEO is and why it's so crucial for e-commerce businesses to not ignore it, right? Because the truth is that it takes a long time to grow organically on Google, and many businesses just cast it aside for that reason, unfortunately.
No, you're exactly right. So you said earlier about the yin yang approach, and it is really, really crucial for any business, but we're talking more about e-commerce today, to have SEO, or in the long term is search engine optimization, implemented into their business. I keep it very simple. SEO is like the building blocks of any house. You cannot build a house from the ground up unless you've got the fascias, you've got the key bottom part of the house first, all the bricks and whatnot. Exactly the same with SEO. You can have a fantastic brand. You can have a fantastically well-built website, whether it's on Shopify. Obviously, Shopify is the key one we work with. They're the biggest platforms in the world. But if you don't put yourself out there, so to speak, no one's going to know. And obviously, with your kind of line of work, Jeremy, with the PPC, this is where it really works well together. Is that you've got two kind of approaches. That you've got the SEO, which is always a linear effect, is constantly running in the background. And I like to describe as you're just picking away, making sure all the fundamentals are right. And then when you've got a PPC campaign then coming into that equation, it's really electrifying because you are putting a massive amount of that particular audience in front of that brand in a short space of time, but in a methodical way as well, and driving traffic for that. It might be a particular service they've just offered, or in this case, it might be a brand new product line that they've just offered. Christmas is coming up, we've got Black Friday and so forth. And I think really the key thing to remember for any online business, whether you've had it for 1 to 10, 15 years, or if you're just starting out, that getting yourself known and then getting people to your website to see how much of a great product you offer and then having them buy is crucial. And the only way you are going to build up your brand presence is to be shown. And without any search engine optimization input into your business, Google will just think it's just another website on this massive index that they've got, and you really got to play to the kind of the hymn sheet of Google, so to speak, to ensure that you're in the line in the eyes of the people you want to speak to.
Mm-hmm. That's you mentioned a couple of things now here. So you work a lot with Shopify stores. So what run me through is Shopify like a platform? By the way, this is quite interesting for me because I feel like a total noob now. So these are sort of a couple of questions which I've come up when I'm listening to you. Is it a platform which is like, does it inherently good? Because from what I understand from what you said now is it's a lot. So there seems to be like a technical part to it, as into how the website is structured, because I just know this from SEA as well, right? That a website needs to have certain cornerstones and tick certain boxes in order to be crawled by Google in a certain way. So Shopify, is it like a platform that's typically all right, doing an okay job with that, or do they need a lot of help? Most of our listeners will be on Shopify as well, see? So is there something that it does inherently well, or are they usually like full of, oh, we need to do a lot of work on these now?
I can again, and you kind of see I can run and pattern this podcast. I like to use examples, silly examples, but they make sense in my head, and hopefully they'll make sense in your head. It's like a car. If you go and buy a batter, an old Fiesta, which is going to be costing you a fortune to run, you've got to put new parts on all the time. It's not really going to do the job, is it? Think of Shopify as a brand new BMW. It's out of the box. It's got a brand new warranty on it. All the parts are running smoothly. You can add to it. You can drive it 100 miles an hour, and it will never break. Shopify's the same. Doing wrong, there's other platforms like WordPress, which is really good, and they have e-commerce capabilities. Webflow, which is a great system for no-coders, so it's a lot more easy to manage for people who haven't got a marketing department. And again, they have the e-commerce capabilities as well. But as you will probably know, Gymshark is probably one of the biggest sports brands in the world at the moment, and they've got a great story when the founder Ben was talking about when they obviously times tough and they had a small budget. I think it was on a WordPress site very originally, and then eventually one day when they got to a point that they were so big and they had their own developers in house, they said, "Look, we've got to scrap this. We've got to go to Shopify." So I can always say to my clients, if it's good enough for Gymshark, it's good enough for you. And the other point I really want to touch upon, Jeremy, with the Shopify is that it's big investments for any e-commerce brand. Yeah. Everything's online now. Even if you've got a shop front, fundamentally, your main sales will eventually then come back to the online kind of feed into your business. And with Shopify, there's a few avenues, again, depending on the size of your business. They offer great templates these days where you can pretty much, not out of the box, but kind of develop your site yourself. But then there's other end scale where it's completely blank and you can have the best developers working for you and it can be completely customizable. But there's other benefits of Shopify with all the payment systems, all the delivery systems are integrated where...
Yeah, so are these like sort of all beneficial to
100%.
SEO or hindering because it's not as maybe slick or built to function?
Benefits because other platforms, let's take WordPress, for example.
Yeah.
As people on this podcast will know, WordPress is renowned for all the plugins you have to have in. There's two kind of negative factors for that. A is cost, because most of the plugins you need will be on a cost element. And negative number two is that the more plugins and more items you have onto this site, it just gets slower. So page speed on a website is massive. We're living in a world these days where if something doesn't load up within half a second or even under half a second, they're like, not good enough. I'm going to go to the next competitor and so on and so on. And that is where Shopify is different. All of the servers are in house. It's the kind of the code in the background of it, not to get too technical. It's just state of the art. And it's easier to navigate as well. And when it comes to parts of making sure Google from the searches are wanting to index these particular product pages, for us as an SEO agency, it's just the best. It's like working with the best car. We're working with the best product on the market. It's easy to manipulate for the positive reasons, and also it's a lot more easier to manage if you've got an internal marketing associate or a
Mhm.
product kind of logistics operator. So yeah, to conclude, Shopify, in my eyes, is probably the best platform. Doesn't matter how big you are, you can scale it up and scale it down, and the cost element to do that is you can really kind of manage that a lot better opposed to other platforms out there.
That's fascinating. You touched on something that I think is really important, site speed. So how important is site speed, would you say, in sort of the equation of optimizing a site for SEO? How much of the bill is it? Like, is it, as long as your page is fast, that's half the bill paid, basically, or how important is site speed for ranking well organically on Google?
Yeah, well, this is quite a scary stat, and this is true. This is not the pluck of the sky. It's 27% increase of conversions if your site is 1 second quicker, which, let's be honest, sounds completely ludicrous, isn't it? Why 1 second? If we count 1 second, any of us know it's nothing. But it's such a big deal for users because, and I'm probably the worst person anyway. My background is sales for years,
Probably
and I'm
like probably like professional sickness, right? Because
it
when you
is.
when you deal with it every day, you're like, oh my god, this is so
It is, yeah.
terrible.
Yeah,
I
the
always
rescue
I
is.
always judge every ad as well as when I shop online. I go like, oh man, these titles are not optimized. This product image is crap, and
You definitely see it from a different eyes when you work every day, but
yeah,
it's true. And I've been on websites before buying products, thinking, and I might be getting onto a train to go to London. I thought, right, I've got to get on the train, and got the guys off my ticket. And I want to order something. Oh, it's not loaded. Right, bugger off, or I'll just leave that and then go to another site. And then that website has just lost one sale. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the most important person in the world, but if you imagine, monopolize that on how many people that can potentially happen to. If you lose 30, 40 users in a day, depending on what your product you're selling, that could be massive revenue lost by just 1 second. So it does put in perspective how big and how important when you've got an online e-commerce store to ensure that the site speed is
yeah.
at
And I
its most
suppose
optimal.
Google loves that, right? The quicker
Yes.
the page, the more likely it's gonna, I suppose, boost you up right to the top.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Again, like I said earlier, just think of Google as the big god in the sky, so to speak. We have got to adhere to their kind of checklist, so to speak. And it's hard as an SEO agency because you've got to think we've got to be 10 steps ahead to begin with to ensure that we're up to date with any algorithm updates, any new kind of speed bumps we say they want to chuck out of us, and then implement that to our clients. So yeah, it is all about just listening to what Google wants. It's a very repetitive task, but the outcome can be massive and
Well,
what you
yeah,
can
it's
achieve.
very often it's just doing the basics, right?
Mm.
If you do 20, it's 80-20 rule, right? If you do 20% of the basics correct, you already
Yeah, you're on the
gain
way.
80% of that. Hopefully, you don't just do the basics, and that would have
No.
that would have taken me to the next question, and that is sort of if I were like an established business now or relatively established, and I'd come to Ascend and say, listen, Tom, we want to get on the first page of Google. What would you do? Like, what's the sort of very roughly, you don't have to, of course, tell me all the secrets now. Otherwise people wouldn't come to you, right? They have to pay for these. But what sort of would be this sort of step-by-step process, and how would like an ongoing sort of optimization look like, sort of because you said it's to a certain extent repetitive, but I suppose there's like certain, yeah, well, it is repetitive because I guess you always have to try and find new ways to improve or new opportunities and so on.
Yeah, so there's a list of kind of key pillars, that I call them. SEO is like a massive engine. And again, I probably keep using this car analogy today, but it just makes sense. There's so many moving parts in SEO, and unless you do all of them and you do them all well, it won't work. If you do 90% of them and 10%, you're going to miss 1 week or one, it will have an effect. But I think I'll pick up the top three for me, which we've kind of seen a big difference when we've taken on a new client, is keyword research. So you want to make sure that the keywords you are researching are relevant to your products. And they are going to be changing, unfortunately. There's going to be a big bank of them. And 1 month or 1 quarter, you'll see, those are not working as well. They're just dead wood. You don't need to. There's a big misconception in SEO of having, we're ranking and we've got 55,000 keywords and they've only got 35,000 keywords, but they might have 35,000 keywords which are more relevant. They get better traffic and better exposure than those 55,000.
Yeah.
So keyword research is number one for me, is what we would dive into first. I said it about earlier, mobile. So again,
sorry to dive into the keyword research. So how do you go about that? Do you guys have like a great software which can help you with that, or is it a lot of manual work? What's sort of the process of finding what you should be ranking for and what you are actually currently ranking for? Because naturally, what many people don't know when they say, "Oh, I don't rank on Google," it's, well, you do, but you are on page 9.
Yeah, which is useless.
Yeah,
Exactly.
there's a joke I saw online. If you want to
I
hide
know what you're going to say.
body, yeah, you want to
Page 2.
hide a dead body. Okay, do correct, yeah.
Yeah, very true. Look, it's I'm not going to sit here and say that we are boffins and we know everything, because we're in 2023 now and the systems available to us is tremendous. It is, I would say, it's 60-40 rule. It's 60% the software. So we work with the best systems. So which I'll name 2 of them. SEMrush and Ahrefs are 2.
Yeah.
It's quite an unusual thing for an agency to use 2, but they're very, very similar. But I just think sometimes when we've got certain projects we're working with, and this is just a personal preference from our agency, sometimes one system might gel us better for that kind of client. But fundamentally, it's more SEMrush that we use. So SEMrush is in layman's terms an SEO tool which does many of things in one. And most SEO agencies, UK, Europe, and US, Australia, anywhere you go, will probably be on SEMrush. Ahrefs is within the second placement as well. The only key difference is one's got a slightly bigger database of keywords and one hasn't. Mm-hmm. The second element is human element. So it's us, our guys. We speak to our clients. So when we take a new client on, that's probably the most in-depth and intense part of the campaign, because in essence, we want to know within reason as much as we possibly know about that client. Obviously with the product is self-explanatory, but we need to know what's working for them, what's coming up in the next season, what are they taking offline, what are they going to bring online. So we don't need to be like a business kind of consultant, but when it comes to really knowing their online products, we really need to know everything. So we have a few meetings in person, mostly in person we can, to really understand them. They understand our processes, because there's going to be some kind of certain ways we need to go through things, and there'll be certain information we need off them. Once we've got everything off the clients, and once we've got our kind of objectives, so to speak, I don't even want to call it strategies, because I think that's an old term and everyone uses that. Plan, I like it. It's planning. It's a project. Everything's a project. And we put the plan together and think, right, this customer is here. They want to be there with the other competitors. What do we need to do in that middle? And that is basically what SEO is you are there, you need to get to there and stay there and better. But what do you need to do in the middle? And then we will then form a plan, then a keyword plan amongst other items of SEO. And then we will test it. So something which is quite unusual. People just think, right, there's an SEO plan, present it to the client, and away we go. We want to try and break it in the first 2 to 3 months to see if it's working. And there's always constant reviews of these. And if we can see from black and white data that this is working and we're getting progress for this client, we will stick to that model. but then better at them. And I will hold my hand up now. We had a good discussion last week that with the kind of the wool over people's eyes these days in the era we're in, we want to be really, really transparent with our customers. With these systems these days, it's so easy just to click and drop, right, show all the nice parts of what's going well. We're not interested in that. We want to show them what's going wrong. So if Google decide to spit out a massive update, which is going to hinder their progress, we'll tell them about it. If everyone makes mistakes, and I'm not going to sit here and say that we've never made a mistake, because we have. It's how you act on it, and it's how quickly you act on it as well. And also, because the data doesn't lie these days, you can't really hide much up. And I just think that's how we kind of set ourselves apart from other agencies. And don't get me wrong, everyone's got their own kind of ways of doing things. But I think we want to develop a long-term standing relationship with these clients, because most of them don't have an internal SEO department or marketing department, and we kind of at their arm externally. It's just communication, and also down the clients as well. We found out a few clients before, we have them recently. They didn't want to tell us that they did something in the back end. A few days went by, and it did hinder some results. And I said, look, it doesn't matter if there are some elements that go wrong. We just need to be told about it, so we can then write what we need to do going forward to get that fixed.
Yeah, so that's sort of fundamentally the first step is putting a project strategy in place, and then iterating on that constantly, right?
Yeah.
What are sort of the other sort of steps that you would undertake at the beginning?
Mobile optimization, and it's crazy now. And again, I'm sure I can speak on behalf of, I say the nation, most of people sub 70 who's got my grandma's 85 and she's got a better iPhone than me, so work that out. But nevertheless, the minute I wake up in the mornings, I don't look at work emails. I'm on Instagram or on Facebook, or my friends told me to look at this mountain bike or something. It doesn't matter. In the end, everyone in the morning routine, whether you go to London on the tube, doesn't matter where you are, if you're on the bus to work, if you're waiting to go into the office, everyone's got their phone with them. And it is quite scary that this year alone, to 2023, 56% of traffic from a device online is come from a mobile. So that just goes to show that I'm on a MacBook now, I've got the screen, yes, that's fine, I've been surfing the web all day for work, but when I'm off this podcast later and I'll take my friend's dog for the walk, which I've been numbered with, I'll be on my phone in the park. And it's the same for everyone. You've got to ensure that your website is absolutely in tip-top condition for a mobile and tablets as well. More people are using tablets like iPads or Android devices on the trains and transport now, and on the planes as well. But you can see a trend that eventually there's going to be a dying kind of breed of using a desktop, because everything you can do on a phone. 85-90% of our e-commerce clients, they're all busy people, they're all busy individuals, they have teams working for them, and I have come into their offices and they're all walking around with their iPhone, and they've got the bigger screen one, and they look at all the stats. There wasn't many laptops open, there wasn't many iPads open. So going back to that, and I know I've probably gone into it too much, but I can't stress enough that making sure that the phone your website is optimized for a mobile is true. Because if that doesn't work, and little things, if the page doesn't stick properly, people just get annoyed with it and they say, well, this website's not the standard, I'm instantly going to lose faith with this product. Which the sad truth about it is, most of these sites, the products would be fantastic, right? But if the kind of the platform they're on doesn't meet the standards of that user, again, it's a potential loss of the sale.
Yeah, it's crazy. The issue that we unfortunately have as well is that we mostly work on desktop. Like even us, we have this sort of desktop blindness, if that makes sense, because naturally you will be working with a laptop as well, right? So every day you see your clients' pages through that, and how often do you realistically pick up the phone and look at it, right? Even although we naturally do, we probably don't do it as often, right? So that's an amazing tip. So beyond that, what other factors do you look like? Do you do some sort of I've heard that link building or something like that is really important for SEO as well, so that you get
Yeah,
other people to link to your page.
yeah, and again, I got the Robin Hood analogy. We're stealing traffic from the bigger boys to give it to the smaller ones. And link building, in a very very simple term, is you want to, in essence, link with a site or an organization or a page that's relevant to your business. In this case, your store, who have far greater traffic and users go into that site. And also, it's about and what we do well, which is slightly uncommon, but with other agencies, but it does work really, really well. Is that it's not always about brand new pages as well. People think, oh, well, that company's got a brand new page uploaded. Well, we need to speak to them and we need to get a link. You'd be quite surprised how many existing pages, even from 2, 3 years ago, have really, really good traffic still. So again, it's a broad example, but take Wales Online, for example. There's some fantastic articles on there. There was a couple of years ago, there was an online store, a local Cardiff store, which obviously launched, and they did a fantastic article, and people still read it. And don't forget that some of these PR companies will repurpose their content. So again, within the backlinking kind of world, it's also good to remember that you need to go onto existing pages as well. Don't just worry about or focus on all the new pages that these big companies you want to deal with and be linked with. Have a really good research on thinking, right, well, I've seen that existing page maybe from 6 months ago, which is relevant. I want to be connected to them. I want to be embedded into that page. Just because it's 6 months old doesn't mean that it's not going to work. So backlinking is really, really good. Obviously, citations a bit more of a local. And again, this all depends on how big your business is. So if your business has got online stores as well, physical stores, then citations is perfect. Obviously, so going into your Google My Business page, making sure that anything around your area, you're optimized. But fundamentally, yes, backlinking is probably, I would say, one of the biggest priorities in SEO to have right. And also going back to what I said earlier about the keywords, it's about having relevant backlinks. So it's all well and good having a great list and thinking, oh, well, my competitors have got 2,000-3,000 more than me, which is easily done. But there could be a misconception there that they're not relevant. Again, it's all about making sure they're quality backlinks over quantity. And as you build that bank up, you will quickly see then over the months and the days, months and years, depending on how long you have it done for, the benefits it's going to bring in.
Amazing. So that's quite a comprehensive catalog of services. So if I were an e-commerce store now, let's say just a random one of any random size. So what are sort of the first couple of things that I could maybe start doing myself, which I could take away from today, or at the same time, at what point do you think a business should start outsourcing their SEO activities to a business like yourself? Is it like something that should be taken into consideration quite quickly? Or is it something that should be happening maybe at a later stage once the business is more mature? Because something that I see with Google Ads is a lot. I'm just asking because of that is I see a lot of businesses who come to me and they sort of just started out, right? And Google is not maybe always the best channel to start out with, just because you need because with push channels, right, you much more easily establish proof of concept, right? So you
Yeah.
can, run a few meta ads, spend a few grand, and understand if the product market fit is there and all that sort of stuff. So so back to the question, what is sort of a couple of things people could either do themselves and take away from today, or when should they start optimizing their SEO strategy, and maybe even come to someone like you to Ascend?
Yeah, so it goes. Look, it comes back down to one thing, unfortunately, and we all know it in the world we live in now. More businesses are becoming more aware of how important a marketing in their budget in a year needs to be probably at the forefront of their minds, and have probably more of a budget backed for them. 10, 15 years ago, if you were said to a company, oh, well, you need to have 45% of your profit, your budget for the year to be marketing. No way. But these days, it's growing, and we've been presented people's business plans, and they say, well, look, year on year, we are having 20% more, 25% more, 27% more, 30, etc. And it goes back down to affordability. So if I were to give some advice to a company today, whether you're on your own, you've got 2 or 3 staff, and doesn't matter what you turn over, this key kind of part is you are naturally going to be a business where you're going to have new products all the time. So making sure that the product images are optimized, they're high quality, the descriptions on them, because don't forget, that is also another channel to optimize as well. So when you do product searches, images will come up. Images will then go back onto that page. So and people kind of think, oh, I wouldn't think of an image, but we've done an audit on a client's site before, and we've done a bit of with some technical software. We found that we can see it's come from a WhatsApp picture. So it's been so basic, but it can have a massive effect. And even if the image doesn't have a proper name, if the image quality isn't good enough, little things like that. So making sure your images are constantly updated and optimized. The product descriptions, because think of it as monopolizing online. You don't just want to have your first homepage on top of Google from what you sell. So let's take clothes, for example, sports clothes. If you have 55 products of sports clothes, you essentially want every single product page ranked and indexed in Google, and making sure that all those individual products have correct descriptions. It sounds so silly, but we see all the time missing descriptions. Again, like flipping heck, this is a massive part missing. And again, if people who are savvier and they are getting a bit more irate, but people are in this day and age now want things yesterday. If they don't have everything in front of them, they're not going to use it. So making sure product descriptions are all up to date. They have keywords implemented into that which are relevant to that product. So when the Google do a crawl on that particular product page, they think, okay, well, this site's listening to us. It's a black quarter half zip for a man. It's got that description in there of some sort. They will then think, well, hang on now, they're pushing these keywords to that particular page. We're going to index them. We're going to increase their rankings. So product image quality, the descriptions and product descriptions as well, I think will be just really basic starters. Again, I went back onto mobile speed earlier, mobile optimization. Now, if you're using Shopify or Webflow, WordPress, most of these platforms these days do have kind of tools within them that will help you visualize what it would look like on a mobile. So just use your common sense. You don't need to have 10 years of experience in marketing and masters in marketing to work out, well, look, I can see how my product store is actually shown on a mobile. It's all distorted or it's all probably overlapping. We need to do something about it. And then your second part to your question, where you think then when is that kind of that fork in the road moment where we need to probably look now at engage with an SEO agency. It would be down to growth of the business. We always find two kind of common kind of areas generally with our clients, that they're either a new business and they want to go full pelt straight away, and they don't have any technicality, they don't have any kind of back end in marketing, they don't really know what they're doing, they know the product, they know how to sell it, but they need an agency like us. That's when we see that we engage straight away. Or on the other hand, is that we've had some really fantastic clients who have grown their business over 2 to 3 year period. So the third year is quite weird. It's kind of the time. And they got to a stage of any business where they're thinking, well, we need to grow now. So you can take any company, not e-commerce or non-e-commerce. They will mostly probably start off on their own. They'll take maybe like a contractor on, they might take a part-time role on, then they go to full-time, right, we need to take another 5 staff on that to grow. Same kind of ideology with the kind of the e-commerce side, is that you will see that the sales are increasing. You are a business owner who wants to maximize and increase the size of the business and does not just be mediocre and stay where you are. And it's basically the volume. That is, I'd probably say, is when we'd see people thinking, well, we need to really push this site now. And we plateaued in our kind of skills, because with SEO and obviously in your game of PPC, it's forever changing. And
Yes.
the kind of the common kind of the concerns, I should say, we have from customers saying, look, we kind of knew it the first year and we were gone out our routine, but then they were wasting time in year two because they were doing the old kind of ways they were doing. But whereas times moved on and there's been a new kind of algorithm being brought out, or there's been a new kind of trend which they haven't hopped on, or they haven't thought about, or they haven't been using the most up-to-date software. There's so many reasons why, and that is when we get approached and saying, look, we just need a professional insight to this now. 95% of our clients, we do it all for them. Whereas, like, what I mean by that, we kind of act as their external marketing or SEO department. The other 5%, which is only small, are bigger companies we work with, is that they do have internal staff who are all marketing led, but they're more generic, which is nothing wrong with that. But they need assistance, and they're probably very much like you, because you're a specialist agency,
Right. Yeah.
that we will come in and say, we will need you, Ascend, to come in to assist Lucy Jones and Joe Jones, for example. They run up all our marketing internal in this brand, but the SEO is such a high specialist skill to get right, because it's so easy to waste time on doing it wrong. Again, with PPC, is exactly the same. Please, can you come in? And then we will then assist, and that's really nice, because then it's not, probably a bit cliche to say this, but we're also doing two things now. We are running their SEO for them, making sure it's progressing, but also we're kind of teaching those internal associates at the same time, so
Yes.
they get a better understanding. And then, one day it might be a case that they get they can have their own internal SEO. So I'm a big believer of collaborating. If we can collaborate with staff in the business, it makes our life easier, and also it's just nice to see that they've gone from month 1 to, let's say, month 18, or if it's an ongoing contract anyway. And I think, well, we've seen them progress, and when we have meetings with them, they understand more, and we don't need to be as Leyland as much. We can use a bit more jargon related items, but we don't do at the start. So yeah, and then that goes back to the relationship building. This is all about why we started Ascend, and I did, is to make sure that we can work with companies on an ongoing basis, and we can grow together. And that is our core message, and what we want to achieve over the next few years.
Amazing. That's kind of sort of one of the final questions really that I had. Sort of, if people would, if someone, a listener, would now approach you and said, let's work together, what sort of can you realistically expect at the beginning if you put a certain sum of money into a monthly collaboration and into SEO? Do you have any sort of success stories or any notable examples of collaborations or brands that you maybe can name or not name?
Yeah. No, I can. There's one that really springs to mind, because it's quite an unusual brand. It's called Casa Dioli. When I say unusual, it's they're an olive oil company based up in Suffolk, up in England. It's all the oil is from 7 to 8 Spanish farms. And again, it is a bit cliche, but the reason being, we started working with this, which is lovely, that it was originally a family business, and they developed a great family connection with the farms over in Spain for over 20 years. It was recently bought out by an external investor who wanted to try and change the business from a bit of like a lifestyle business into a fully operational e-commerce store. And they also go to in-person events as well. And we got approached saying, look, we had our data saying that they've done well, and over the last 20 odd years, the previous owners did okay, but they didn't really invest in anything online. And I think the new owner kind of clicked on thinking, there's a big market for this. Most of their clientele is in London, and in particular Westminster, because of the affluent areas. These olive oils aren't cheap. And they're not the sort that you would probably see in a Tesco or even a Waitrose. There's a great example. There's a farm shop up in Cotswold called Delta Farm. Again, very nice. Very high end. And that is where their product placement is sitting. So we've come on board. on an ongoing SEO to begin with. And it was really nice because we kind of probably upped the ante the first few months because we could see that there's quick wins. And this is another point I was going to make, that in SEO, they'd be quite surprised if there's some low-hanging fruit you can just tick off and get them to go straight away, as long as you know what you're looking for. And there was in this case. So we start on September 1st. We run a report, and again, not to be too technical, on the end of last month,
Oh, that's cool.
end of September, end of October, and we increased collectively by 420 placements. Now, just to put that into context, for an e-commerce store, for that takes about 4 to 5, tipping up to 6 months. So in the first 4 to 6 weeks, we've just made a massive dent in progress in their ranking. So Casa Dioli, we've really got to go now. We're literally tipping onto the first page for one of their key sellers. So they're very renowned for their flavoured oils. So you normally wouldn't, you'd get balsamic or extra virgin.
Yeah.
They got vinegar. They do vinegar as well, but they do a range of crazy different tasting oils. And their main one of their main key ones, we're literally need to get on the first page already, and we haven't really scratched the surface. So I would say that's like a highlight for me. Because it was a family-run business. They got the same ethos as Ascend, and I'm looking forward to the new year really brewing. And obviously got Christmas around the corner, so we should see some really good results over the next 6 weeks, and then leading into January. So yeah, I would say that's a really good success story for Ascend so far.
That's amazing. So it can be quite fast if you know what you're doing and know what you're looking for.
Mm.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah.
And also it's going back to your point earlier, Jamie, when you said about when do people really know to kind of make that jump, is that it's, if you were to put on to a normal person or an e-commerce business owner a day in the life of doing SEO from an agency, it's really, really mentally tiring. There's so many different aspects you've got to look at. And there's also timing as well. And again, and I think it's probably very similar in your field, that you can't jump with 2 feet all the time. You've got to do a certain part first, and it's education for our clients. We want to make sure that they understand why we're doing this, and that's another thing we're really proud of. That we're very, very self-explanatory. We're very open, and we tell them why in a layman's terms so they understand. Why are we doing the on-site first? Well, okay, it's for X, Y, and Z reason. Why are we now going on to the off-site of this part? Because there's a process to follow, and sometimes throwing everything at a wall and hoping it'll stick isn't the outcome and isn't kind of the answer. So it is very strategic and very methodical. But yeah, that's what we enjoy and that's what we do. We do really well.
That's amazing. So if someone wanted to get in touch with you, what would be the best way, mate?
I'm on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a big platform now. We've got some really exciting content coming over the next few months. So if you just look for Tom Morgan at Ascend, our website is AscendMe, so ASCENDME, as in Ascend Upwards. Alternatively, I can end this podcast. If anyone wants to get in touch on the platform, I can share my email as well. So, but LinkedIn is probably good, and then we can arrange a phone call and we can dive straight into it.
Amazing. That was honestly so insightful and really exciting because, like I said at the start, to me, a lot of it is a bit of a black box just because you sort of naturally hear about it, and I get asked about it a lot in the past years, and you do build up a certain bulk of knowledge, but to which depths it goes and what softwares you can have and what metrics you can track and being on top of the algorithm and managing client relationships, technical SEO, a lot of web dev, so much stuff goes into there. So it's mega exciting. Tom, thank you so much for popping on. Really appreciated it. Guys, get in touch with Tom if any of this sounded interesting to you. Otherwise, you always know how to find me as well. And I can put you in touch with them. Thank you very much for coming on, man.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Jamie. Catch you soon. Thank you.
Catch you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.